asking to join me here on the stage and please present the participants of this interesting discussion to the audience. Thank you. I want to welcome Mr. Krebukne von Kommersant, von Dmitry Krapibienko from Ukrainian Weekly, Ali Akhmadov from Azerbaijan. He is editor-in-chief of an online platform, and a colleague from Kazakhstan, Mikhail Dorofyev. He also is the editor of an online platform. We will talk about Facebook and fake news, and we'll discuss whether this is only a topic that we have in Dasha.
Включить их надо, наверное.
Добрый день. Меня зовут Олег Трутнев. Я работаю в...
Good afternoon. My name is Oleg Trutnev. I work for Kommersant in Russia. We have business use. I'm the editor-in-chief for the consumer market section. In 2009, this section was founded. Good afternoon. I'm a representative of a business news portal, a new portal. It is about business news. Before that, I worked as a TV journalist, as a radio journalist. Our platform is specialized in business and financial news. Sometimes we also cover other current topics. We want to thank the organizers of this Congress for the invitation. We were here last year. There are many interesting pieces of information here, and we can use them for our work. Good afternoon. My name is Mikhail Dorofyev. I'm an editor-in-chief of Inform Bureau Kazet. I come from Kazakhstan, a former Soviet republic. We have an information communication ministry. The Minister for Information and Communication thinks that the freedom of the press has a ranking of 7 of 10 points. If we look at the international ranking, we only ranked in the 157th place. Can you hear me? Asks the speaker. My name is Dmitry Krabienkov. I come from Ukraine. I think that you know about the situation in Ukraine. I represent a Ukrainian Weekly. We have been on the market for 10 years now. We also have an English language monthly comparable to Georgia Today, which the Georgian colleague has presented. We are the partner of The Economist in Ukraine. We use some articles of The Economist in our newspaper, which is published in Ukrainian language. We also have a monthly digest of our issue. The scandal of Cambridge Analytica, in which the data of 80,000 Facebook users were stolen, was a big scandal. how was that received in Ukraine? Well, it is also an important topic in Ukraine. It is a topic affecting all of Europe and the entire European public. It was not such a big shock in Ukraine, however, because we know that Facebook is a battlefield. We have been talking about the advantages and disadvantages of Facebook today. Facebook is a tool, but we should also know who uses this tool. Yesterday, we heard that if Facebook was used by authoritarian regimes, it would be a huge hazard, a huge danger, of course. I think that the freedom in our country and the United States has to be defended. We have to fight for it again and again. And for us in Ukraine, the scandal of Facebook is just one episode. It's not the most important thing. According to Facebook data, Cambridge Analytica, if we look at the profiles that were analyzed, more than 80% were profiles from the United States, 10% from states which could not be clearly assigned, and the remaining 4% were profiles from Great Britain, Austria, Germany, Kazakhstan were not represented there, but the Americans were not very agitated about it because they go on using Facebook the same way as before. Only 1% of the users deleted their accounts. A scandal is just a brief aspect, of course. In Russia, we also followed the developments around Cambridge Analytica. We were not really shocked, however. In Western countries, some companies were reported to have deleted their accounts. I did not hear anything like that from Russia. The protection of personal data is, of course, an important thing for all states. And maybe the case of Cambridge Analytica has increased the awareness of the importance of data protection. I think that many Facebook users do not take the protection of their personal data very seriously. This is a huge problem, of course. And I think that the people have to be better educated about that, also in other countries. What was the situation like in Azerbaijan? Like my colleague from Kazakhstan said, this was an interesting topic also in Kazakhstan because it was linked to Facebook. There were hardly any Facebook accounts deleted in Azerbaijan, but it was, of course, interesting. It offered an interesting insight. Everybody, of course, thought that something like that might happen at some point. Many young people use information from social media and do no longer consume conventional mainstream media. They think that they distribute only fake news. Well, there is a certain skepticism concerning traditional media, print media. We have to understand that journalists and civil society are becoming active in this field, that there is a campaign, Stop Fake, which was launched in more than 30 states. Also in our country, there are campaigns against fake news. As far as the conflict in Ukraine is concerned, we see a lot of propaganda in this connection. Campaigns are launched within the country in order to fight fake propaganda and fake news in this connection. So this is not different from other countries. On Facebook, there is, of course, a lot of fake news, and it is difficult to fight that. But I think that the situation of the freedom of the press is quite good in Ukraine. Well, the situation in Azerbaijan concerning Facebook and fake news is, well, I think that it is something that affects all media in all countries and all areas, but I just think that it is just a stage in the development of media. 20 years ago, when the first websites were launched, this problem existed. There were lies. It was possible to create websites to distribute fake news. And this was a time when Facebook did not even exist. Of course, the dimension cannot be compared to the dimension this problem has today, but I just think that these are just intermediate steps in the course of a development. There will always be fake news, but I think that eventually the audience is educated by that. There's a process of self-education in Hungary, for example. The audience will find out and will learn how to judge certain information and source of information. Well, in Russia, according to the latest surveys, the trust in traditional media is still very high. We have carried out this survey in all the regions. The level of trust is still high, but the number of people who understand that part of the news serves propaganda purposes is also increasing, but this has not yet had an impact on their trust in traditional media. In the big cities, the trust in traditional media is declining. As far as social networks and social media are concerned, well, I think that a huge share of the traditional media are controlled by the state directly or indirectly. So the question is, where is the share of fake news higher, in traditional media or in social media? So that's a question that we need to answer. The information on social media is mainly influenced by Telegram, which is a type of messenger which transports inside information. Everybody can download an app, the Telegram app, and this is used to distribute a huge amount of information. Maybe you have also heard that this app is that there are attempts to block this channel in Russia. Some weeks ago, there were attempts to decipher the codes in order to block this program. So there are attempts to counteract trustworthy sources of information here. Well, in Kazakhstan, the same holds true concerning traditional media, as my colleagues have already pointed out. We have similar problems as countries in Europe. We also have the problem that there is a huge share of state media. The information in these media is, of course, presented in a certain way. There is a certain amount of influence. Many big and important media depend on the state and are thus also under the influence of the state. As far as fake news is concerned, I think that journalists have to decide whether they want to be independent or propaganda journalists. I think that traditional media should become aware of their traditional role of distributing independent and reliable information. And if they do that, they will win back the trust of the population. What does the how important is the trustworthiness of information, the reliability of information to the readers in Kazakhstan? Well, as I said, the situation is similar to European countries. If a messenger is used to distribute rumors, the newspapers will tell a different story, but people tend to trust the messengers in these situations. So what is the situation in Ukraine like? I think it is not sufficient to check the facts. You also have to question the sources of information. On the internet, you just need some euros to launch your own website to distribute any type of information. So journalists and journalism need reliable sources. And I think that expert checking is not reliable in all cases because everyone may claim to be an expert. So we would maybe need a kind of rating of experts. There should also be some kind of blacklists of media which distribute fake news, so that as consumers you are able to judge the reliability of the media that the consumers read. So in Russia, the problem is, or this is not only a problem in Russia, but how can readers decide and verify how reliable their sources of information are? It is difficult for people to find their ways through this huge amount of information. So we have a responsibility to educate our readers so that they become responsible readers, to teach them that they have to be critical of what they read. It is not only about the distribution of fake news or non-fake news, it is also about a sensible use of the media. And those who work for quality media know that there are certain standards which have to be adhered to. We have to check the sources of our information, and those about whom we distribute the content have to give their consent. So this is something which has not changed. I would like to look at this problem from another point of view. We have heard many interesting presentations and reports yesterday and today, but most of the people who spoke here were managers, media managers from media groups and publishing houses. So there are two typical trends. The media, the sphere of our media is transforming, it's undergoing transformation, it is becoming more digital, and the business aspect has become more important in the field of the media. I think that business aspects, business rules have become more important. Figures, profits are what counts. Our readers are not only seen as readers, but also as our customers. We need to understand that. There's not only a simple relationship between journalists and their readers, but these are also business relations, customer relations, which are becoming more and more important. When we talk about fake news, we have to be aware of the fact that there's a lot of competition going on. 20 to 30 years ago, there were huge media groups which had a monopoly. There was hardly any competition, hardly any competitors. They determined the most important stories. Today, the media industry has become strongly fragmented. Everyone can create their own topic, and they may transport their own content. Everyone basically can become an influencer. The readers are becoming very cautious. They are becoming skeptical concerning the new models. New models are designed to make money. All of your media are represented on Facebook. There are more than 1 billion Facebook users worldwide. But in the Russian-speaking countries, Im Kontakt is much more popular. It has more than 400 million registered users. On the first glance, it is very similar to Facebook, but what is different from Facebook? Well, it was founded in 2006 when Facebook was not yet popular. This platform is the market leader in Russian-speaking countries. The structure is similar to Facebook. You can present your own content, photos, videos. It is possible to stream films, movies, videos. You can also create your own music playlists. This is not possible on Facebook, as far as I know. It is also very popular because Facebook is addressed to users who know more about the world, who are open to the world. And my friends have both Facebook accounts and contact accounts, but rather to watch movies and to create their music playlists. But international friends, those who have international friends, have their Facebook accounts in order to remain in contact with their international friends. The contacts is rather used for watching movies for free.
But also in such a social network, a lot of information is being passed on. Among such information, also fake news, of course. But our media have their accounts everywhere, on Facebook, on Instagram, and they also have their embedded contacts. Why do you think that the man in the street in Russia uses more contacts than he or she uses Facebook, for example? Because they see more possibilities for entertainment and infotainment on account of the additional services. Kontakte, this platform might be more appealing, but according to my observation, Facebook is rather used by people in big cities, people traveling a lot, and people having a lot of contacts abroad. In Ukraine, in the framework of the sanctions, this Kontaktje network was blocked. Did this have any impact on your work? We actually welcomed this decision. We had an account in this very network. We cancelled this account before this decision was made, before the decision was made that the access will be blocked. Actually, taking a look at the statistics, we can see that the Kontaktje users in Ukraine have gone to Facebook. The number of users grew by 70%. There are additional services, Meiru, for example, services that are being used in Russia. All these services are no longer popular in Ukraine. Ukrainians use Google or also Ukrainian services. Ukrainian websites, for example, offering online banking, online trade, e-commerce. So these are services that are among the top 10 positions. Facebook does not seem to be an ideal platform, but there is a mechanism via which you can place complaints if you should see that you have been confronted with hate speech. So you can write a complaint, and this transaction is then being deleted, and this did not work out via Kontaktje, and there was no possibilities to place a complaint there. So this hate speech problem really flourished. I think this was a very well thought out decision, and the market did not suffer from that at all. Of course, there is also the possibility to also use the VPN service, to use the contact service and to circumvent this blockage, so to speak. And then we saw that also these users have given up on this. So I think that the decision was right. Without state regulation, this would not have been possible at all. On this Russian service platform, Kontaktje, there were many illegal videos, movies that had been uploaded illegally, and thus I think that the decision was right. This is something I can only confirm. I can only confirm that all the songs and all the movies that have been uploaded there, they have all been illegal. And this has changed over time. Kontaktje works in close cooperation with other companies and tries to combat this problem that only illegal copies are made there. In Russia, there is talk about the blockage or the possibility of blocking Facebook. Our regulating authority demands that all the servers in Russia, all the servers are used in Russia. At the moment, no compromise could be found with Facebook. So there is the threat that Facebook will be blocked in Russia, and it's hard to say at this point in time if this will be actually possible. Because the Telegram service could not be blocked at the end of the day, because this blockage can be circumvented on the internet. We talked a lot about fake news. How do you want to proceed in the future in order to prevent the spread of fake news? Could you please repeat the question? How do you want to combat fake news in specific terms? I do not think that we are publishing fake news. We supply our readers with objective information. In other media, we have this problem, but it's first and foremost the user who has to learn to differentiate between news and fake news. I do not see any other possibilities to combat this problem. Maybe do you see any possibilities to perform regulation? But if it is the state that spreads fake news, you can only rely on yourself. Facebook has become widespread in Azerbaijan. We have 10 million users. So 50% of the population in Azerbaijan uses Facebook, and these figures increase on a daily basis. Many media know what fake news are, and if you work in a high-quality fashion, you won't have any fake news. But as has been said correctly, it is also the responsibility of the reader to distinguish news from fake news. In Azerbaijan, we use Facebook, and the number of users is increasing. People who are 85 years old or older also start using Facebook, and very often they believe everything they read on the internet and everything they see on the internet. Very often they are highly concerned. They call us and they say, well, we have read this and that, and I tell them, well, these are fake news. Please don't believe this stuff. And then over time they start to learn how to distinguish news from fake news. Also, people's perception is evolving. What we have to do is to educate our readers to distinguish news from fake news. What we have to do is to develop products that are destined for this very audience. What are your plans in this respect? What will be the hardest is to prove the obvious classic conventional media playing by the rules, by journalistic rules, do not spread any fake news. Period. For us, fake news are constituted by lies, but for Donald Trump, for example, it might be everything spread by liberal media. For Republicans in the US, fake news might be everything spread by Democrats. What you have to do is to make a clear differentiation between fake news and news. If it's just lies, then I do not think that there is more and more fake news. I think there's just more and more news coming in, and we read more and more news because we have more time, we spend more time in social media. The reach of this media has increased. Some years ago it was harder when there was no such thing as social networks. And secondly, we humans tend to rather believe our friends, even if these are virtual friends from the internet. You might trust this person more than a journalist whom you have never seen before. The only thing we can do is to do a professional job and to tell the truth, to represent all the opinions out there. And if we work on that very thoroughly and very consciously, then I think that people will stop reading fake news. We heard about voice first today, but I think that the reputation is king. Reputation should be placed first. The better our reputation, the more people will want to rely on us. I agree. I totally subscribe to what you said. Media have to remain professional, and then people won't believe that they spread fake news. We do not only write, but we also educate and enlighten our readers. We hold seminars, we hold master classes. We tell them a thing or two about media, safety and security. We work together with shops selling books. People go to these shops to buy these books and we enlighten them. So it means that it is very important to educate people, to enlighten them, and this is something which will become ever more important. What you have to do is to know about the type and scope of news that you consume. We try to educate people. It's not only about our readers, it's also about people flocking to us for just buying a book. Thank you very much for your attention.